Well, I guess we are live. Hey, Ricky, how are you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good, Grayson. What about yourself?
I am doing great. So, what's been going on in your neck of the woods, Ricky?
We got about 3 inches of snow yesterday, so that wasn't too fun up here in the mountains of North Carolina. But the bees were tucked in, and I think they were doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, a little opposite here. It's been warm, and this past weekend, it kind of went down into like the 30s, high 50s, but now it's like into 70s. So, we're still dealing with Mother Nature playing around with us, but I
Right.
don't think because we've been having these fluctuating temperatures, so something that we deal with every single year. We'll have days in 70s where we think it's gonna stay warm, and then it goes right back down cold. So we still have some winter ahead of us, but I think we're on our way to spring here soon.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be an early year for some reason. I mean, you can just feel it in the air this year that it's even the snow that came. I mean, it was 41 today, and everything melted right back off. It's like a spring shower or spring snow, and
Yeah,
you see the grass trying to push its way through, and that's a good indication up here that spring's right around the corner.
yeah, because we can tell. It seems like we're going to be having like real warm weather, and it seems like we are going to be having spring to touch early. It's just all different each year, but this year we hope we're going to have some good weather. But that's what's been kind of going on here. I've been working on equipment, getting ready because I have some hives that's been doing extremely well, and I've been getting ready for some queen rearing boxes and all that kind of stuff. What about you? What have you been kind of getting ready for? Like
Yeah, I'm kind of like you, Grayson. I'm trying to do some queens this year, and we're mentoring about 15 people this year, so that's going to be something different for us. And
yeah,
we're looking at building a big building for our place to do some horizontal hives in, and we're just wide open this year. It's just amazing when you get into beekeeping how doors open up for you and get to meet new people and just I'm not like you though. I mean, it sounds like you're on top of things. It seems like every year I'm struggling to get swarm traps ready and equipment ready, and just so far behind. It seems like.
yeah. There's definitely those times of years where, like I don't maybe it was this year or last year during April, there was a swarm that swarmed out on me, and I wasn't prepared for it because I wasn't out there. I was busy doing other things in life, like we all do. We
Yep.
have other things in life that we have to deal with. So then I miss out the swarm, but can't really
Right.
feel too bad about it. But I just lost the swarm. Nothing. It's not really. It wasn't really a big deal. I lost storm up in a tall pine tree this spring, so we lost it, but it just wasn't too big. We can't feel bad about losing a storm, right?
Nah, you're gonna lose some swarms, but I really like to catch them. And Grayson, if you're losing them, that means maybe I'm catching a few of them.
Yeah, I saw a swarm trap yesterday or day before yesterday. It might be here just because I've been seeing some pretty big activity. All the hives are coming in with a bunch of pollen because we're having some pine trees blooming, which is one big cause of it. We have our house is surrounded with pine trees. If nobody knows, but we're surrounded with pine trees and blooms are starting to bloom out, which is a good sign. So the bees are taking on that heavily, going up there in those trees. I see them flying around on our porches. But it's looking pretty good. I have about an 80% chance of survival rate at the time being because I came in with 6. Right now I'm at 5, which I'm fairly happy at, which is
Yeah,
not
that's
a bad.
great.
It's good. And this year, I say I'm probably gonna come out with about. I don't really want to say, but if I can come out with these 5 halves, I have. Then and enough, then get something can happen, like they could get robbed. So
Right.
if you can come out with these 5 or 4, I'm planning to expand about to 10. I can handle about pretty much anything because we're homeschooled, so we can
Okay.
have we have the time to be able to move everything to where we need it, which is a good thing. So I'm able to go out there to the bees when I need to do other things. Um, we've been a bit fairly busy on working, and we've been building some bee boxes because that's one good thing. We build our own bee boxes, so if we need something, we can easily go into wood shop and build it. So it's good to be able to do that, and that's about it. That's all that's really been going on here. I'm getting equipment ready. Some people probably saw my recent video. I was showing them my equipment status. I'm pretty good on equipment. I can't really say, but I do have a lot of I have a lot of supers, deeps. So I'm probably prepared for the spring. All I need to do is get some more queen ring stuff, and that's about it. But like everybody knows that I'm going to try some queen ring this year. We're going to see how it turns out.
Yeah. So, do you have like a grafting table? What's your setup for the queen ring process?
Well, my setup, I haven't done queen ring, but I've been doing some fairly good research on it. So my plan is to go with the starter finisher method, as many people know. It's just one of the simplest methods I could find.
Hmm.
Eamon Reynolds has a good video on that, which I really
Right.
enjoyed. I watched all that, and that's my plan to do the finisher starter setup. And then for the main setup, like with all the equipment, I have some wooden frames, cell frames, and I have the wooden cell bars because there's a lot of many different places and different styles like the GB's plastic. I went with the wooden one just because that was the simplest one on Man Lake that we could find. So I went with that one. The cells, have some cells, but I need to get some more like cell GB cells for the wooden frames. But that's basically my setup. I'm going to be going with the finisher starter method because it seems like the pretty easiest method to go out and work with. But that's basically my setup.
Grayson, how old are you?
I am 13.
13. How old you, Amber? 11. She's 11, and I really like to see her get more into the bees and doing a lot of what you're doing, and it
Yeah,
means it's something special to see the kids get involved like what you're doing and
yeah,
taking part in beekeeping, and you guys are you you're starting at such a young age.
yeah,
The experience you're getting now is going to pay off big dividends as you get older. You
yeah,
know, this one right here really needs to get into. She likes to do science experiments and stuff, and we
yeah.
hope to do some experiments on some YouTube videos maybe this year and show some stuff and hopefully she'll help me graft a few things. That's what I'm kind of hoping for a little bit. So
I definitely like that's one thing that many people say it's about starting at a very young age, which is a very good thing because you have all that time on you, right?
yeah,
Like, to learn to be able to do something. So I think that's great.
yeah,
But what I'm doing, which is it's fun. There's not many young beekeepers out there like me, but still, I try to just be part like in the group, right?
right,
And,
absolutely,
act normal and I try to do these live things like every Monday night, as I bet many people know that's in here. Um, I don't always make it, you know, but I do
hmm,
sometimes try to make it. So,
right. Well,
but
it's important to go with the dialogue. I mean, like you get Lee and Bob's channel
yeah,
and Hillbilly and those guys, Sheldon and those guys. I mean, and I was on with Tim just the other about a week ago and
yeah,
was with him and these live chats gives a lot of good information to beekeepers, and I might not chime in on some of your chats and stuff, but a lot of times I'm listening. I'm building hives or working in the house, and I'm playing these channels because I'm learning something from the older guys. And to be honest with you, Grayson, you're gonna start showing us some stuff, and that'll be absolutely amazing to see what you're doing. But these channels are great for good information. People can ask questions, and
Yeah,
I'm not an expert, and by no means, but I can give you my opinion, and you can choose what you think's the best for your bees.
yeah. Because I think that's the biggest thing we're talking about. That last week I had another Canadian beekeeper on, and we're talking about like, all about the how tos and how I do kind of video stuff,
Yeah,
and I find for me that I sometimes will do how to videos, but I'll only do a how to video if I know what I'm talking about, right?
right,
But if
right,
I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll like queen ring, for instance. This year I'm gonna videotape some of it, but I don't want to teach anybody about it because I haven't experienced it. I just want to take people on that journey, and I find people really like that. I get more
right,
interested in how I do what I'm doing. In my
right.
behavior, people like to just go for the journey and see what you're doing, what's your struggles, see all your things that you're doing. So I find that's one of the
Yeah.
best things in beekeeping is
Yeah, and then again, you go for like me. I'm in the North Carolina mountains, and my beekeeping is totally different than maybe your beekeeping. You're in where at, Grayson?
I'm in southeastern Alabama.
Yes, I mean
So,
your beekeeping is way different than my beekeeping. We
right,
don't have hive beetles as bad as you guys do, and we
yeah,
don't have to worry about some of those pests. And you can do a video on that. Where for me, I don't do that. And screen bottom boards, I haven't had a chance to use those this last year. I'm going to try some this year and at my apiary, but really, we don't have to have screen bottom boards up here.
right,
There's really no need for it. So,
right. Because that's another thing we're talking about is a lot
oh,
of things. What do you say?
seen Paul on there. He
Oh,
picked a
Paul.
hive up from us from the Hive conference. Yeah, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
that's fine. Um, but what I was gonna say was that this YouTube thing is very a good thing to be able to learn things because whenever you're in these live traps, I'm always trying to chime in live traps. I may not always because I have 150 subscriptions. It's hard to watch everybody, but at least try to
Yes, it is.
it's hard because sometimes I feel bad about that, but I try to at least watch the video and try to comment, leave them a thumbs up, and I think that's one of the things about it is because I try to watch as many people, but it's just hard to,
Yeah.
especially we have all these different beekeepers on here, so but I am very appreciative of all the people who do join and watch.
Yeah, I got about 1,500 subscribers. We're real close to that now, and it's hard to watch everybody, and
Yeah,
and sometimes I might not watch somebody for a little bit, and but they'll hit a topic that I've got to want to know about or want to see, and I I try to rotate people out. I've got a lot of YouTubers that ain't maybe got 5 or 6 or 10 subscribers. I love listening to those guys, and
yeah,
they give a lot of good information, just as good as anybody else. So. Um, I get what you're saying about watching people's YouTube videos. It is extremely hard.
yeah,
I listen to a lot of more of the smaller guys, and I'll
yeah,
catch Cayman from time to time or the Rooster or
yeah.
those guys. But some of these new YouTube channels, I really like to get
Chime
out
in
there and
and
listen to what they are saying.
yeah, I think that's the best thing. I like to try to, especially smaller channels that have less subscribers, so then I'll chime in and listen to one of their videos and what they're doing. So I think that's real good.
Yeah, and think about this. We all started at the beginning, right?
That's
I
right.
remember when I had 30 subscribers, nobody talked to me, and nobody knew who I was, and it's like, man, I just wish someone would comment or say something to me, or
Yeah,
or just I want to be part of the group, right?
yeah,
And so I think it's important to embrace those people. And if you do come across their channel, listen to what they have to say and give a thumbs up. Leave a comment for them. They don't have to
yeah,
be much, and they'll appreciate it greatly. Let me tell you.
yeah. That's what I always try to do. It's I don't always leave a big comment, but sometimes I do.
Yeah.
But I'll just say looking good, in your area and that kind of thing. So I think that's great. to be able to do that, and especially with newer channels and newer beekeepers. So that's what I try to do. Yeah.
Right.
But I guess we're 15 minutes in already. So welcome everybody who's just chiming in and listening. But first, Ricky, first topic I wanted to really quick discuss is if you could share with us briefly your story, how you kind of started in beekeeping, maybe like from day one, just a brief story if you would.
Absolutely, yeah, I can do that. It started with my grandfathers. Both of them kept top bar hives, and that
Yeah,
maybe that's what drove me into the horizontal hives. I can remember as a child not wanting to be around the bees at all.
yeah,
Didn't like to get stung. Didn't want to be around them. And I missed the opportunity where you're at now, Grace. I missed that opportunity to learn a lot from those older gentlemen that meant so much to me in my life. So anyway, so it was about 6 years ago. A friend of mine, he had some bees, and um, the wind blew one of his hives over. It's a huge hive. I mean, it's a monster, and the wind blew it over. And I went down and helped him out, and it kind of got me hooked just a little bit, being with him and being in a bee suit and feeling comfortable around the bees. And so then I come home and I got on YouTube and I started listening to Randy the Dirt Rooster,
yeah,
and I went down that rabbit hole watching his cutouts, and I'm like, wow, that they do kind of go horizontal in the rafters and
oh,
stuff. And I thought, well, I like to build stuff, so maybe I'll build me one. And I started looking and researching, and not many people was building horizontal hives at all at that time. Not the style that I wanted to use, and so I said, well, I'll build me one and just
mhm,
see how it goes. I put it in my building. I'll put it up about 15 feet up in the air. Won't hurt any of my farm animals. We won't get stung from them, and
yeah,
I'll be good to go. Well, I'll be surprised if that first year that hive didn't fill out all 32 frames. And then I ended up putting a deep super in the middle of that,
yeah,
and they filled that all out. And then they started building wax in the next super before the season kind of ended out. And man, I was just hooked. I'll be honest with you, that's the best year I've ever had with my horizontal hives was that year.
yeah,
And so anyway, they kind of got into building a few designs that I come up with, and uh, heard of the Hive Life conference with Cayman Reynolds. I kind of watched him a little bit on YouTube, and I mentioned to him and say, "Hey man, I've got these designs. How maybe I could bring them down and show them to people." I didn't care to sell them. I just wanted to show them to people. He said, "You can come down and sell them if you want to, or and show them." And so me and my wife got us a ticket, and we went on down and we showed three different designs that I'd come up with, and man, that's been the story right there. I mean, things have just changed. Our whole life has changed from that one conference. The Hive Life conference is so incredible. I mean, it's just
yeah,
an amazing place to be.
yeah. Whenever we went, it was busy. That was our first year going. Because I really didn't. I recently got into the beekeeping kind of community. Before I was in this beekeeping community, as you may want to call it, I was just I had a small little channel. I had like 20 subscribers, 30 subscribers, and
Hmm.
nobody really knew me. Kind of like you said. But then somebody reached out and said he didn't know me, and after that, and I started getting subscribers, and it slowly went up, and that's kind of where it kind of started right there. Is whenever we started the YouTube channel, because we've been doing this YouTube kind of thing for about a year, but just recently, like 3 months ago, is when I actually started to actually make it bigger and film
Right.
and do stuff.
I
Um,
think I seen you online with Bob and Lee. I think that's the first interaction that I had seen. They had you come on,
so
and I was really surprised how well you spoke, and
yeah,
the interaction with Bob and Lee, and
yeah,
you know
first
uh,
of
it,
all,
it it was great to see you on there, and I was really impressed for a young feller to do what you've been doing so far. So
yeah,
that's my first interaction, getting to meet you was then, and of course we got to meet you at the Hive Life conference, and I apologize, we was real busy. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with you, but
that's all. It
you
was
know,
pretty busy. There was a lot of people that I would have liked to spend more time with, but
right,
what I had to do, I just had to go up there, shake their hand, say nice to meet you, talk to them for a few minutes, and then
right,
that's just so busy. There were so many people I wanted to meet, like because like my first day, I only got to meet a few people because we were trying. I was trying to walk around, look at things, and it was hard to track everybody down. And with what was it, 2,000 people,
yeah, it
something
was
like that.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
this year, I don't know what's this year's gonna be like. We're gonna try to make it. This coming up, Hive Life. Try to go for that youth sponsorship. Because this year, believe it or not, right, we bought tickets right at the end. Like we almost weren't able to get tickets, but we were able to fit us in there. Um, we're like probably one of the last 100 or 200 people who actually got tickets because right, like maybe like a few weeks after that, they were sold out. So we were good to be able. We were glad to be able to make it to the conference this year, and it was very fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So is your beekeeping now? Have you done any cutouts, or have you done any swarm catches for other people, or have you done anything like that?
Well, I have, but they didn't turn out all of the great. I can tell you a few stories because I haven't been getting too many calls this year. I do want to try to catch more swarms because back then I was a little younger, so I didn't know as much as I do now. So now I think I could probably do a little better because I didn't feed them. I didn't do all that stuff, so therefore they just kind of died out because they're so small. So one time we had a call from somebody. They had a little horse ranch. So and there was this little cluster of bees on their little, I don't know what you want to call it, railing or their fence, as you may call it. They were just
Hmm.
hanging there, and they didn't want it to hurt their horses, what I can remember. So we went down there. I just picked up the bees, put it in there. I did not find a queen, but I suspected there was a queen because I left it over there overnight and came back the next day, picked it up. So that was one of my removals that we did. Another one that we did was we weren't able to remove it. It was in a somebody called us. It was in Troy, Alabama, because that's where we're kind of close to, and we went up there tried to remove it, but it was in a tall oak tree. Like it was like on the tippy top, and somebody wanted us to remove it, and we couldn't remove it because we couldn't go up on the top, go up into that tall tree. So, it just ended up staying up there. So there might have been a few more, but I didn't really get a successful, a good one come out just because I was new. I didn't have too much good experience, and they also were kind of small, so they, just they're small, and I didn't know all that much as I do now. So that's kind of my what I have removed. I haven't not did any cutouts, and maybe in the future.
Right.
Um, maybe this year, maybe I will try to. I'm going to put something up on Facebook, maybe saying local Alabama removers and see how it goes. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what we do on what I've done on swarms. But I'm hoping to do more swarm removals this year, though.
Yeah, I think it's good to hook up with a person. You know that the cutouts that I've done, I hooked up with one of my really good friends, and he's a beekeeper. And having two people there, understanding the structure and doing the cutout, is pretty important. The picture that you showed at the beginning, that was a 72 inch by, let's see, it was by 26 inch wide horizontal hive in a can room.
Yeah,
And that big piece of comb that you seen at the beginning, that came from that cutout, and it was just a monster. You seen probably seen the table with all the comb that was laying there. I mean, that's the biggest swarm or a cutout that I've ever seen in this area, because we're in the mountains of North Carolina. It's cold. I mean, it's not normal. Where you're at, you could see something like that, but
yeah,
not up here, So but I suggest you get up with a buddy, hook up with somebody, and go and enjoy it, or somebody that does it, and just go out and video it and have some fun with it. So I think
yeah,
you enjoy that.
yeah. I think so too. And I've talked to many of the two of the cutout people, like Randy McCaffrey. We've had him on here. We had him on. I think it was last week. We had him on.
Mhm.
It was real fun. We talked about a lot about cutouts because he was good at cutouts. We talked about how he got into it. That was a fun chat. But yeah, I do want to get some cutouts in. Maybe try to do some swarms. Just depends if people have any in the area. I know a family member last I heard had some bees in her attic, so I may try to remove those. So
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
I will. So first question: the girls up the hill honeybees ask. Question for Ricky: on average, how long are the hives you build, and how do you manage swarming in a long laying hive?
Ooh, that's some really good questions right there. By the way, it's nice meeting you. Um, so on average, to build a long laying hive, it takes us about 3 weeks. I've got a pretty good crew working for me, and we can turn those around in about 3 weeks. And that's paint and finished and ready to ship out. It's about 3 weeks. But we're so busy right now. We're pushed out till I think it's the middle of May right now. So,
Yeah,
and managing the swarming in a long leg hive. Now they will swarm in a horizontal hive. People say a little faster, and I kind of agree with that. I think they do swarm a little worse in a horizontal hive. I don't know why that is. Um, because you can move the divider board and give them the space that they need. But if you look at the video with Randy McCaffrey, the one that he did the open air colony, that thing wasn't that big, and that little thing had swarmed, and they had plenty of space, and shouldn't have never swarmed. So it could be a lot in genetics causing some
right.
of the swarming. But the cool thing with a long laying is you can pick the frame up and look. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so easy. You know where your brood nest is at. You can just go in there and look for them, and you start seeing some queen cups and stuff like that. And if you feel the need, I mean, do you split? Or
yeah,
with the horizontal hives that I make, put you an extra hole in it and make you two hives in it if you want to. There's a lot of things you can do to minimize swarming by doing some of that stuff. And what you're going to, a lot of times, I think maybe part of it is the bees do a really good job of doing this rainbow honey. It's
yeah,
about 4 inches of honey across the top, and then there's about a 2 inch rainbow of pollen, and then you get brood. And it doesn't. It looks like they got plenty of space, but when she's only got just a little area across the bottom, maybe a shallow putting brood on it, she
yeah,
can do 26 frames. I've seen it done before, and a 32 frame horizontal hive. So she needs a lot of space, and if they make that brood nest too tight, and you ain't putting some frames in the middle of that horizontal hive,
yeah,
they will swarm out on you.
yeah. I think the same thing because like sometimes swarming's harder to control. Everything's different depending on what the bees want to swarm. You know, and manage practice and everything. Sometimes you can prevent swarming. Sometimes if you have something in life or something that's going on in your life that you can't go out to your bee or they'll swarm. But like we said in the beginning, it's just it happens sometimes. Like I said in the beginning, I did have a swarm that swarmed out on me, but I wasn't able to catch it. But I let it go off and it split itself. But yeah,
Yeah, I
the
did a bunch of splits this year out of my long lanes just to prevent swarming
yeah,
and to grow my apiary. I mean, we got up to about 26 hives this year. We got back down to 17. We sold a bunch of them, but
yeah,
we did splits to sell some nukes and stuff. And my nukes swarmed on me, which was crazy. But it was such a the flow coming in last year for spring was incredible, and the bees just they were ready to roll. They were ready to split, and even the long langs, I took the queens out and had some cells in it, and they requeened themselves. A month later they were swarming out. So I mean, it was we had a mess last year. I had swarms in all kinds of trees last year.
yeah. Because especially whenever you're controlling swarms, it can be hard sometimes, but once you get used to it and know what timing for you, because that's one thing that's hard to say. Like whenever there's a beekeeper out there who's trying to tell you how to, professionally catch a swarm. Like I did a video on tips how to, maybe to catch swarms, but I didn't say anything about when you should catch swarms, when it's the best time. All I said was really like, use for old equipment. If you're gonna try to catch swarms out in the wild, use old equipment, use swarm lure, and that's about it. Because I can't really tell, somebody like when you should catch a swarm because it's all different, and it also depends on when the bees want to swarm. Because I know some people who did get some early swarms, like especially people in Louisiana, some people in my area that already found some queen cells, queen cups, and that kind of thing. So I had to I've checked on my house for any swarming, so nothing's going on, which is good. But that's swarming is a big part of it, but it happens.
It does happen. So
Yeah.
let me ask you another question there, Grayson. Who's your YouTube favorite? Who do you like to watch the most? I seen Ian popped on here a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Is it him? Is it Cayman? Is it the Rooster? Who's your biggest icon? Who do you like to follow?
Well, that's a big question. I watch the main ones like to watch. I will watch a lot of Cayman Reynolds. I will watch Ian Stepler. He's in here on Canadian Beekeepers blog. I'll watch David Burns. Um, Richard Knoll. I've watched some of his. those are the main ones. But I really do like all of the beekeepers. Like you, Ricky, I like your channel. I've watched your videos. I like everybody. But I guess those are the top picks that I follow, that I try to learn things from. Not just for entertainment, but for actually looking down and being able to actually learn something, maybe something
Hmm.
new. I do like to watch some local beekeepers in my area, like Lisa Grammy Midwife. Some I like to work son of one. He's down here. I like to watch
Hmm.
bees. I like to watch
Right.
some of the locals, so then see what's going on in their area, so I'll know what may be going on in my area, because they're not too far away from me. They're in Dothan, Alabama, which is
Right.
very close to me. So,
Yep.
therefore, I can take some of their things and easily apply it to my own bee yard. I like to
Right.
watch some of the locals, and then I'll watch some of, like I just said. That's my main pick that I like to watch. I do like to watch Randy McCaffrey. I really do like to
Hmm.
watch his videos. Yappy Bee Man, Yappy Bee Man.
Yappy.
Yeah,
Yappy, he's a mess. He got two horizontal hives off us at the Hive Life conference, and I've talked to him several times now, and he is a blast to talk to. And you get
yeah,
on the phone with him, he's like we get on the phone with Cayman, and sometimes the conversation can last a long time, and they have such great information. You have to sit there and listen to it, and so yeah, Yappy's great, and a lot of these I see a lot of people here on here like Gunline Bees
yeah,
and Lisa and Lee and some of you other people that are watching your channel right now, those guys have a lot of good information on their channels also. And I actually got to visit Lisa and going to get to see Lee coming up maybe. And just those are great people to learn from and get some good information from them. And and like you said, Lisa's probably right down there next to you and Bruce. So
yeah.
you got some people you can really hang out with and get some great information. Bruce is he's got a lot of really good hives. I went down there and visited with him, and he had the Greg Burns Pepto Pink Queens, and man, I was surprised how docile those were. But he had some other hives that would just absolutely eat you up. I was a little scared, to be honest with you. They were so hot. So, but
Yeah.
he didn't seem to mind at all to be in them. So for me, it's a little intimidating.
Yeah, because especially I have now that we're kind of speaking about genetics and stuff, I guess we can talk a little about that. Because many beekeepers of mine know that I have some Italians, and I have 3 Russians, and the cool thing about it is this is my second year, I think, overwintering the Russians, so they're doing real good, and I really like, even though they're spicy, I still can handle them. I think I have found that they are good honey producers. Last year I told everybody that I had a one deep, and then it was full of honey. It was everything. It was so heavy I couldn't lift it, so I had to take frames out and put it in a fry frame nuke or something like that, and then carry it one by one because it was so heavy. So then once I extracted it, I put it back in the hive, and then at least a week or two later, they filled it up again. But I left that on the bees for this year to consume. So that's my pick of Italian and Russian. That's what I kind of have in my apiary. What about you? What's the breed that you kind of enjoy in your
Well,
beard?
we mostly got mutts, but I'll be honest with you, I caught a Cronolia breeder queen
Yeah,
and a swarm trap. And that hive is awesome, man. The bees, they're like little puppies when you open up. They're looking at you like, oh, hey, he's there. They don't come up and bump your mask. They're
yeah,
great. And I'm like, oh, I'm making splits from this hive. I'm making queens from this hive. Compared to some of my other hives, I got a few hives that are a little hot, and I replaced those queens out. So if I was a picking, I'd go with the Crenolians. I like those bees a little bit better, and for my area, they slow down right before winter. They
yeah,
have that smaller ball, and they overwinter better up here. The Italians, if you're not watching them, and I think somebody mentioned about supplementing your bees and stuff. If you don't help them out, sometimes they're not going to make it through winter.
yeah. Because we got a question here. Grayson, how many halves do you run, and what are your thoughts on supplemental feeding? Well, right now. I'm running about 5, 6 halves, like colonies. But if you're asking about half configurations, I'm running double deeps, and I'm also running singles. I do have one half that was in uh, a deep and a super, but it just got small for some weird reason. it was a hive that I did not treat for varroa mites because it had a super on it, but I ended up not eating it. So I should have just went ahead and put some Epivar in it, but I didn't. But some of them I did. But hive configurations, I do a few of each. I do have double deeps, but the one that I really like most is the singles. I found that I can feed it more easily because they are right there. So if I want to feed it, say fondant or candy board or sugar water, they can easily just, you know, the cluster can easily eat it. So I found real good success with the singles. Now I had a single right now, and it is just blowing up right now. Like if everybody knows, I have the blue hive. Every single bee that I see, most of them have coming in with some kind of pollen, and they're just doing real good. They have a good laying queen. They're laying up some good brood, and I'm really happy with the hive. And they are already wanting to make burr comb and comb, so I'm still working on that, but they are doing real good. But on supplemental feeding, that I'll do a few different things. Usually this year I tried out I did a little sugar water, 1-to-1 sugar water right before um winter, and then right whenever we got a little cold weather, chilly or not like 50s, maybe we were more around 65, 60s, 55s maybe. I started using like sugar blocks or sugar bags and put water in there, and they did good. But then after that, right when we got into real cold weather, in my singles I started putting candy boards in them just to kind of experiment, see how the bees like it in my area, because I think it be cool to find it out. And they ate it. um One thing that I put on a candy board, what was it, a week ago, they consumed it within a day or two, which was, I don't, I didn't, I was unbelieved about that because it wasn't cold. They were bringing in pollen, but they just really like that stuff. So it's just basically like fondant, but I put it in a board, or it's basically like a sugar block, if you want to say it like that. But I just put it on the board and spread it out, and the bees do like it. But that's my choice on supplemental feeding. I really do like to feed. I know some beekeepers who may not want to feed, or they do want to feed, but I think feeding does help your bees, especially your singles and your nukes, because they're smaller. They probably do need some help. They're a little smaller. They may do good. It may be good to go ahead and feed them. But that's my thoughts on supplemental feeding. But what about you, Ricky? What's your idea on this question?
Well, to be honest with you, probably most people don't know this. I'm a little bit of a naturalist. I
Yeah,
don't feed quite as much as a lot of people do, and I'm not saying don't feed your bees. I think everybody has to pick and do what they think's best for their bees. And I'm a lot like you, Grayson, when it comes down to feeding the bees. If I do a late season split, then I will do some feeding of sugar water. When I do my supplemented feeding, it's usually just dry sugar. I mean, if I have a hive that's light that I know is not going to make it through winter, I'm not going to let my bees die. That's just me. But I'm going to throw some dry sugar on them, some newspaper, and make sure they get through winter. But I mean, I'm a little bit of a naturalist. I like some of the easier chemicals. If I'm going to treat, I treat with oxalic acid. I stay away from the Formic Pro and some of the real hard stuff. And that's just me. I mean, that's just the way I feel about it. I mean, you can do the Hive Life fondant. I hear great things about it, great things. And I'm just not into that yet. Maybe I will. Yeah, when I start really selling a lot of queens and want to do splits, maybe I'll do more of that. But just for the backyard beekeeper, just as long as my bees don't die. I mean, I treat my bees like a pet, right? If they got fleas, I'm going to put a flea collar. I'm going to get rid of them. I don't want fleas on them. I don't want mites on my bees. Okay. And, I'm going to make sure my bees are healthy and fed, right? So if they need some sugar water, I'm not going to let them die, you know?
yeah,
And I think Bob had mentioned on here, I got a couple of queens off of Bob Walker here just a while back. And, I put one in a Lance hive.
yeah,
And I fed that hive like crazy. It just would not kick up. They
yeah,
kept cross combing. I had to keep breaking it apart, and it upset that hive. It never did do very good. And I put sugar water on it, and man, they drawed a ton of comb, but they didn't put anything in stores. And when I went and checked it, that was one of the hives I lost. Now the other queen I got from Bob, it's doing great, But that hive, I did everything I could to help it, and I just assumed it was good. It's a Lance hive. I'm trying to do the natural beekeeping, and you see what happened. I did lose that hive.
Yeah, I think I'm the same exact way. So like my double deeps, I did not feed them because I did have some sugar blocks up there. Like little bags of sugar with a little water in there. Just set it in there, leave it in there. Once they come up to that thing, if they need it, they can go in there. If they don't, I mean, it doesn't matter. But I'm more toward to like my smaller hives, like you. If they're smaller, I'm going to feed them. But if they're big, if they're at least have a deep and a super, I'm not going to feed them. I will still check on them, and if they start getting real small, like my other halve, it was a good halve before it went into winter, but throughout winter it just kind of went down. Then therefore I had to move it to a nuke, which is right now. So we're gonna see. I'm just experimenting with them and see if I can get through winter. If I can't, good. If I can, that's gonna be great as well. But I'm basically the same way. With treatments, I use Apivar this year. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try to rotate maybe, but I'm the same way. I don't want to get them, the bees or the mites at least resistance to the treatments. I've been thinking about trying out some OA, the Larabies, and Instavat,
Yeah,
because I've been
yeah,
hearing good things about it, and it seems pretty easy. So I'm hoping to get one of those maybe in the next few days, or maybe weeks, or maybe sometimes this year, or maybe I'll try it out next year. Just all depends on my schedule, on what I'm doing. But
yeah. I've got Rob's old '08 gun, and man, I love that thing, and it does a great job treating. And one of the other treatments that I do that I rotate out is Thymol. I like Thymol. I think it's a good chemical to use in your bees. And with a horizontal hive, you kind of got to worry about you know when you're treating, you've got more frames of honey in there, right? So, you either got to take those frames out or you got to use something like, OA that they've allowed you to use that natural treatment for it. Timing's very important on those. I do an early treatment in spring if they need it. If they need one during the summer, I'll do a thymol. And then late, in November, I'll do another OA treatment if it's needed. So, if the mite counts are high, those are the treatments I use. And that's the times I use it up here. Now, that timing will be off, where you're at in your location. But,
yeah,
uh, there's a possibility I could treat 3 times. I had one hive that had 16% infestation. I didn't even know how it was alive. And, I treated that hive. And it made it. That was a couple of years ago. It made it through winter, so I was surprised. But
yeah,
high infestation, So again, it's like a pet. If it's got fleas or mites on it, I'm going to try to get rid of them
yeah,
and help them through winter. I think that's so important for your bees getting through winters, not being drugged down by those mites. Those late, November treatment can do such great things for your bees that my horizontal hives come through with tons of honey on them. I got double deeps like you; they come through winter with tons of honey on them.
yeah.
You can always use that honey, and do a spring, you know, extraction, and
That's right.
and you still got the honey. If it hasn't crystallized, it's still good, right?
That's right. Because in my double deeps, I still have a lot of honey left that I can reuse in some of my double deeps. Because that's one good thing that they went into my double deeps went into winter with a lot of honey, and they still have a lot of honey on them. So I can use it, or I can if I don't need it, I can put it on another hive, or I can just do whatever. But I'll probably extract it if I need to. But yeah, well, I put a link to Ricky's website on Horizontal Bees. So I got one question for you, Ricky. So whenever you do build your horizontal hives, do you ship them, or do you get people to come to your place locally to get your horizontal hives?
We ship them through Southeastern Ship Line. Usually is one of the bigger ones that we use, and we also will deliver something. We're headed to Texas. Like I said, we're going to go down to see Lee. We got several hives down that way, and we got a couple of meetings that we want to talk to people about maybe selling our hives in their stores. So we'll be talking to them, and then we have people to come and show up at our property all the time. And man, I love people to come and look at my
Yeah,
hives. I mean, I get excited about it, and they get to see the hives actually working. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
one thing to sell a hive, but to actually show people how it works and how it functions, and they can say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it does work." It's just not this myth. I mean, they get to see how it's the process of how the bees are working inside of it, and uh, sometimes the hives are doing good, sometimes they're doing bad, and
Yeah.
it comes with the territory. My oldest hives are getting to be about 5 years old, and they don't look as pretty. Those horizontal hives don't look as pretty. I used an oil-based paint. It's flaking off, and I learned from that, and but I still show them to people, and they still get to look at them. So um, yeah, so we ship them all over the place, and question for you, Grayson, since you seem to be able to build some hives,
Yeah.
when you going to build a horizontal hive?
I don't know. I'm gonna try. We've been discussing it a little bit. I'm gonna try. We're gonna try to see if we can build one um for ourselves and see how it goes, and just for pleasure. But yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to build one sometime. We've been wondering about building them, and it seems like a real good design. I really like the design of it, and like especially for the thing is like if I have like a split like a say a nuke or a deep, I can easily move it into the horizontal house because it has the same frames, Langstroth frames, which is one thing I really do like about the design. But yeah, I'm gonna try to build some here soon.
Well, when you decide to, Spanky, he has done blueprints for me, and he gets a little percentage of each blueprint that we sell out, and he's done a very good job with them. And we're selling some of our hive plans. So whenever
Yeah,
you get ready and you decide you want to build your horizontal hive, you get in touch with me. I'll
yeah,
pay Spanky his fee, and we'll hook you up with some blueprints and some plans, and you can make your own hive if you'd like to. And we are selling the plans now on our website, so if anybody's on there, they can see that we're selling those and selling some of the hardware to go along with those hives. So, but yeah, Spanky, man, he's made some beautiful blueprints for these
yeah.
to help people understand all the dimensions that's needed to do those with.
Build it. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll definitely do that. I appreciate it because
Yep.
I really do like the design, and it'll be cool to try it out. Once I do build one, I'll be able to you know, be able to film it and show everybody how it's going, and maybe try to overwinter it. And then if it comes out of the winter good, then I'll keep on doing that, and I may build more. You know, but so yeah, I think that's gonna be real good.
Yeah, and you can do a lot of things. You can do some nukes with it. You can put a bunch of holes in it. You can do some queen rearing in it if that's the avenue you want to do. I'm big on Greg's Lighthouse Hive, where it allows you to have 4 chambers to do queens, and you have your big hive over here on the side, and you can do some queen rearing that way. It makes it real simple and easy, and just take that queen out and throw her over in one of the compartments, and they're going to make some queen cells, and you don't even have to do any grafting. You just take
Yeah,
those swarm cells or or super, well, I guess it'd be just the queen cells, and you could take those and put them in the other chambers, and make you some queens that way. So a horizontal hop gives you a lot of options to play and have fun and enjoy your bees, and that's the
yeah,
funnest thing about for me is just getting the bees and enjoying them and playing with them and figuring things out. The longer you're in beekeeping, the more you play and you tend to do in them. You feel more confident in your skill sets, and that's important.
yeah. Definitely, because that's the one best thing about beekeeping is you have many different options. Like that sometimes like whenever you're looking for queen run, you have so many different options. Like you have the starter finisher, you have the starter that starts this cell, and you have the finisher that finishes the cell alone. It's just a good thing that you have all these different options. So then once you learn all these options, you can decide this is the one I want. This works for me. Say like for me, I'm going to do finisher starter method because I'm not going to be raising as many not gonna be raising as many queens, so therefore I won't be able to. I don't need as many queens as I would as a starter alone and a finisher alone. So I think that's a good thing is to have more options, and you have like different options, and then like with the horizontal halves, especially like with woodenware, like you have Langstroth halves, you have Warrior halves, you have Langstroth or horizontal halves, Langstroth
Mhm.
horizontal halves. So there's just so many different options, and that's the one thing I really do like about beekeeping, and you can choose from those options.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little story about Bob Walker there. I went down and got those two queens from him, and he had this really red shirt on, he had these suspenders on, and we getting some of his hives, and these were some big monster hives, let me tell you. And he was shooting a little video. And if you get a chance, go check this video out because it's hilarious. And so he's sitting there, and I said, Bob, you want to smoke those bees? He says, man, I don't smoke my bees. I don't need to smoke my bees. And he said, Lee smokes his bees. I don't smoke my bees. I'm like, okay. So we get into him, and he's getting lit up. He's getting stung all over, and man, I'm just sitting there chuckling. His I think his nephew was down there doing some filming for us, and we were just kind of laughing. He'd walk off, and he'd come back, and he was getting lit up. And I said, man, Bob, this is going to be a great video, And he kind of got down the middle, and gosh, one stung him right on the tip of his nipple, and I tell you what, I felt for him, man. He said, "Boy, woo, I got to go over to this tree over here." So he was a big sport, to getting those bees and work them the way he did. But we had a lot of good time, and I tell you what, I laughed until I cried. So we had a great time being down
Yeah,
there with Bob Walker when we went down to visit with him and
yeah,
to see his bees. So you get a chance to look at that video. That's a funny
yeah,
video there, and I really did enjoy getting to meet Bob down there.
yeah. Especially, but yeah, because that's a good thing. Like like you can go to different places, different beekeepers, and see their bees, how they work their bees.
That's right.
Like one sometime we'll try to make a trip down to Bruce's bees because he's not too far away from me.
Right.
Um, so go down there, see how he works his bees, see what kind of bees he has. So I think that's the good thing about beekeeping is once you have local people around your area and other beekeepers around, if you can make a long trip to somewhere else, you can visit them, see how they work their bees. But yeah,
Yeah, and I mean Bruce is he's a great place to go down. He's got a lot of knowledge, man. He's a smart
yeah,
man. I didn't realize how smart Bruce was, and I'd
yeah,
watched some of his videos before, and just getting to interact with him and listen to him talk about his bees and his mindset, and he's almost like he's a little bit like a designer. He's got these bee yards placed where he wants them, and he knows how much honey he's getting from these bee yards, and he knows he's kind of figured out where the best spots are at. And I mean, that's pretty important because you don't think about I'll just set my bees out anywheres, right?
yeah,
Well, if it's not a good place to put a bees with some flow, you're not going to get much honey. So listen to him talk about where to put his bees out and how to manipulate his bees to get the most out of them. I was eating that up when I was down there with him. So
yeah,
man's got a lot of good knowledge.
yeah. Walker Bee Ranch as his Bob asked, "Did those queens make it, Ricky?"
Yeah, we lost that one queen in the Lance hive. I've lost two hives this year. I've lost the Lance hive and my horizontal log. I built a horizontal log this year, and we've lost the queen in that. But um, again, I think, and I mentioned this Grayson earlier, was I had to keep tearing that comb apart in that Lance hive because they wanted to cross comb it. They made a mess. I fed them sugar water right before winter. I fed them probably, I bet you, 5 gallons of sugar water, and they filled the comb. They made a lot of comb, but they didn't
Yeah,
put much of it in store. And I just assumed they were good. And when we had that real big cold freeze that come through, it took that little hive out. So I lost that queen. I do have the other queen that's doing great. I think Bob got those from Jose out in California. So them are warm bees. They're not used to this cold weather up here. That's what I
yeah,
like to say.
yeah. But yeah. What Gen X are the queens that Bob gave you?
I believe what he gave me was Italians, and he can
Lions?
comment in there and make sure that is correct. I believe that's what they were. They were Italians that I got. And they were really good natured queens. I mean, the bees were fairly docile, and the other little hive I got, it did build a little honey this year, so it did fairly good. And I started in like a 5 frame nuke and let it build up to a double deep. And I didn't take any honey from it this year. I just left everything on it, and I
Yeah,
figured in the spring I'd take any that's on it that I needed, or do some splits with some of that honey. So
yeah. Especially. because I've been finding that Italians been doing good down here. But they're fairly docile. Not one thing that I'll always say is that even though they're Italian, doesn't mean they're always not going to sting you.
Right.
Uh, because they're that's just nature. That's how I think anybody, even a human, would respond if somebody's coming in your house or opening your roof. You probably wouldn't be happy. So
Yep.
that's the way I like to think. But yeah, I've been finding that Italians have been doing pretty good, and Russians in my area.
Right.
Even though Russians, like I said in the beginning of the live, that they are spicy, but I can deal with it. They may
Yeah.
be all of my head, but I've actually got used to them because I've had them for about 2 years so far, and they overwintered real nice. I really like their cluster. They did a decent sized cluster, and I'm finding good with the Italians. They're doing good. So yeah, those are the genetics and stuff of queens that I really do like. This year, I am going to try to raise Italian queens. I may raise some Russian queens, but I may try to raise Italian because I'm finding good with Italian. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the queens. I may give them to some people, or I may keep them. I may sell them. I may sell some mated, or I may sell some virgin. Either one, make a little income off of it. I'm not going to try to.
Yep.
I don't really want to raise 200, but I may want to raise maybe 50, 30, 20, whatever I can do is what I'm gonna what is what I'm gonna do, right?
Well,
But
let me
yeah,
ask you a question. I'm gonna put, if see right here on the, oops,
yeah,
right
yeah,
there above my head, I'm gonna put an observation hive right there.
yeah,
It's gonna be about probably about 3 feet deep and probably 24 inches wide, and it's gonna be inside our house, so I get to watch it. And it's not gonna be like it's not gonna have frames. It's gonna be all natural. So I'm gonna sit there and
yeah,
watch it and watch it grow. So if I'm gonna do that, what queen would you suggest that I put in that hive to watch it grow? And remember, it's not going to be a hive I'm really going to touch. It's going to get to swarm
yeah,
out. It's going to get to do all the things that a normal hive gets to do. It's just going to be in the house, and I'm going to get to watch it. So, what
yeah,
queen would you put in there?
yeah. That's pretty difficult. For me, if I were you, I'd probably either put a Italian, maybe. Depending, even though you're not going to be going into it, you still may want to carry a nice genetic. But I do know, but I may even put a Russian in there. But the top pick, I'd probably do a Italian or a Russian. Is what I'd probably do. It just all depends, right?
Yeah, that's
On
what
like
I was
what.
thinking about putting an Italian in there because it's going to be warm inside the house, and
Right?
hopefully they'll put a big source of honey in here, and we can watch them work their way down, and
Yeah,
um, give me a way to have some Italian genetics out here with a lot of my canola hives that I've got. So
yeah,
I do like the Italians, but
yeah,
I think for inside the house that might be the bee to put in. Usually that queen's fairly big, so maybe we'll be able to find her. So maybe one off of Greg Burns. I don't know. It'd be one of those Pepto Pink queens inside the house. So we might go with that.
yeah. I was thinking same thing because I think that genetic would be real good for inside, even though you're not going to be touching it or you're not going
Yeah.
to be going near them. I think Italian would be good, especially because they do. They're not. I don't know what really they do overwinter in okay clusters, but still it's warm, fairly warm inside there, so they'll be able to you know, breeze normal. They'll be able to live in there. So I would probably go with Italian. I'm
What do
just
you
saying,
think about the weaver bees? I thought about putting a weaver queen in there because
yeah,
then I wouldn't have to really be worrying about mite treatments and stuff like that. What do you think about the weaver line and the ankle biters and some of those hybrid lines? Do you think they're worth their money? Do you think that would be good for inside the house here for an observation hive?
yeah. Well, I think it just all depends on like I've heard of the ankle biters that they're supposed to be able to bite off the mite, so then therefore you don't have to worry about a mite problem. So that does relieve a big pain off of you. Now the next thing you don't really have to worry about anything after that, but you want to make sure that they're still carrying that genetic because especially we're hearing that they're coming off the VSH bees queens. I bet you've heard about it, and I've
Yep.
been reading about it recently, and then this sounds pretty normal. So if you add a susceptible queen to a resistant colony, the mite numbers are going to start going up. But if you put a resistant queen into a susceptible mite colony, then your mite colonies or mite count are substantially supposed to go down, right?
Right.
So I think you'll most likely want to make sure you have the queen in there for the ankle biters, right? Make sure that if the queen dies, and then the bees will generate will normally raise a new queen, and then redo that. So I think they do are worth it, but I think it's just all depends on that's one thing that I always tell people. It's always personal preference and experience and all that things, but locally and in my generally, I have not tested out any of the ankle biters or all those different genetics, but I'm going to. I'll want to, so I can't really put too much input on all of that. But from what I've heard and from what I hear all the time, I do think it probably would be worth it. But I am going to try to do some experiments in the future about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
the thing is they're kind of expensive too, you know. So,
yeah,
if I put a weaver queen in there or an ankle biter or anything inside there and it swarms out, then guess what? I've lost those genetics,
that's
right?
right. That's right.
So, I mean, it's going to be diluted down for the next year. So I could always keep introducing a queen, buying a queen and introducing it to that
That's
hive.
right.
But
But it's gonna keep. But I think that's the same thing I was thinking, that you're gonna have to keep that genetic. Make sure that, especially whenever they swarm, like like I was telling about the VSH bees, you have to make sure you have a queen with that genetic that will keep on laying the eggs to be able to keep those bees with that genetic. So then
mhm,
once you swarm, you don't have that queen. They're gonna make a new queen. You know, you're not going to carry that genetic unless if it just depends on the breed, right? I know
right,
VSH bees definitely, if you're going to put a VSH, raw sensitive hygiene bee in there, or queen bee, you definitely want to make sure that you still have that queen bee each year, right? But it just
right,
all depends on the breed, and if they still can carry that genetic throughout the bees alone, not just the queen. But I think a lot of them do have has to do with the queen, right? And
right.
some of them
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I've heard. I haven't had any experience with them, so I can't really say too much on them. Like, I don't want to give any wrong info, but that's what I've heard about them. That's what I hear about ankle biters, weaver bees, VSH bees, all these different type of other genetics. But I think the top pick, what I hear, is probably Italian, Caucasian. You do hear anchor biters sometimes, buckfasts you'll hear a lot. I think those are the top picks. But then you have those other ones that you can pick from. But I definitely do research on it and get to know a little more about the bee before you actually buy it. That's what I do anyway, right? I want to know even though I'm not going to do any VSH bees at the time being, I'm still learning about them. It's always good to you know what they're coming out with and all that different stuff. But yeah, that's what I kind of think about, kind of genetic wise throughout a inside hive and everything like that.
So, Grayson, you taken some classes or anything to help you out with your beekeeping, or are you just doing a lot of reading and watching a lot of YouTube and kind of going down that avenue?
So, well, whenever we started, I'll go ahead and give you a short brief story of my beekeeping experience if you haven't heard of it. I'm very certain you probably know, but if you don't know, whenever I started beekeeping, it was so. First, I want to clarify that first we thought that we started off in 2018, but that leaves us around 4 years. But we went to an old picture and found that it said 2000 what 17, I think, somewhere around there. So that means that it was spring, or actually it was maybe, yeah, it was the spring. So we got the bees the year before that, which it was, what was it, about 6 years ago is when it was. But that's kind of when we started beekeeping 6 years ago, and yeah, and then we kind of kept on going. I did take a class from David Burns online, a beginner, like a real simple beginner. After
Mhm.
that, I've just been watching videos on YouTube and kind of learn by myself, and that's about it.
I've been taking some classes here lately, and I tell you what, I was really surprised of, I felt like I was a fairly knowledgeable beekeeper, and when you start taking classes and getting more in depth into the bee anatomy and stuff like that, it really opened my eyes up that well maybe I didn't know quite as much as I thought I did, and I'm not saying classes will make you a super beekeeper or anything like that, but
Definitely good.
it did help me out. I don't like to read that much, to be honest with you. I do a lot of YouTubing. I do listen to a lot of people, but the class has been good because it's made me had to sit there and listen to stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot
Yeah.
of it's just old stuff that you hear all the time. But we're taking some advanced beekeeping classes now, and I'm really finding those to be great. We both became certified beekeepers here in North Carolina through through North Carolina, and again, it's just a piece of paper, doesn't mean anything. But we wanted to if we're going to help other beekeepers out,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was giving the right information to those people.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I went and took some classes, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm just saying, if you get a chance and you got time, take you some beekeeping classes. And like
Yeah.
David Burns, that's a good class to take, and you're only
Really.
going to better yourself by doing some classes.
That's right. Especially that's the one thing that some beekeepers won't take a class or even one class. I always say in my videos that it's always good to take a class and learn what you're actually doing, right? Like what you're looking at, what's going on in your colony. So yeah, yeah, Mark, I gave you my email down there.
And Lee, yeah, I do have my new computer. Lee helped me get a new computer and some coffee on my old computer. So
Yeah,
I've lost a lot of the data from a lot of beekeeping videos that I haven't posted yet. And so I'm going to have to see if I can dig up some stuff on my phone to do some videos. That's why I had posted a lot of videos lately. And we come down with COVID,
yeah,
and man, I was down for about 2 weeks. And actually, I was on with Tim from the Ohio Bees, and I was on with him, and man, I was feeling horrible. I didn't stay on very long, and I apologized
yeah,
to him. I apologized to all his guests that were there. But we had COVID, and I was getting killed, and my wife picked it up last week, and she's had it for a little while. So
yeah,
so we've got the laptop fixed. We're past COVID now, and hopefully we can post some videos and maybe help some people with
yeah,
horizontal hives, or just beekeeping information in general. So
yeah,
if you're thinking about getting a horizontal hive,
yeah,
and you got the time, build you one. They're a
yeah.
lot of fun to build and enjoy. So hopefully we can do more videos helping people build hives.
Yeah, I think same thing. Because whenever I think it's great to be able to build your own equipment. I think not just to sell. I don't think if I made horizontal hive, I wouldn't want to sell them. I would want to keep them and put my bees in there. I'm going to try to build some other nukes and stuff. I may try to sell some nukes in a few years, or just nukes, wooden nukes by themselves. But I think it's great just to use it. Yeah, Frederick Dunn is an excellent source of new and hobby
Absolutely.
beekeeper information.
I watch Fred all the time. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
put him on in the car and just
yeah,
listen to him talk about beekeeping, and he's been very nice to us and helped us out. And we built him an observation hive for. He'll probably see it upcoming on one of his videos, and just a great guy, a lot of knowledge, really friendly. Um, the knowledge is just what amazes me. I mean, when you start thinking about how long it takes him to find the literature to give to everybody, and trust me, he's picky. I mean, he's so picky that when he comes by and looks at my hives, I feel like I'm my teacher's coming to check me out, and he'll say, "Well, why did you do this? And why did you do that? And why didn't you do this?" And so, yeah, Frederick Dunn, man, he's amazing. That's an amazing man, and he really um, he's helped us out a lot and helped us understand some stuff. And yeah, if you get a chance to watch him, he's great.
yeah. I've been watching his videos and I really do enjoy him. I like sometimes when I'm editing a video, I can listen to him while I'm editing because it's just soft and it's easy and I can just be able to listen to him. And
I
I
will
think
say
that's
he does put me to sleep sometimes. I mean, I will say that.
great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But Mark up here was saying about he was gonna try to send me a VSH Queen. That'd be great.
Oh
Um,
wow, that's awesome.
yeah, because I think if I can get that genetic in my BR, and I think that'd be great to try it out. So thanks, Mark. I'll get touch with you later, because if I can actually get into the VSHBs, and I've been wanting something, I'm going to try to get a little more knowledge and maybe talk more about them in the future. But then I think that'd be a good experience to try out the VSH queens and see if I can get them in one of my hives, and then see what's the difference between VSH queens versus a standard colony?
Right,
And that's a
right.
good science experiment to try out with bees. So yeah, I definitely would like to try out like a VSH bees because queen because I've been hearing about them lately. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on the VSH queens, Ricky?
Well, I'm a little skeptical about those 100%. So, I mean, again, it's hard to comment on something that you
Yeah,
don't run or you haven't used. So,
you're
for
right.
me to, of course, I can be skeptical, but I need to break down and buy some. That's why I was thinking about a Weaver Queen and just see is it true what they do and
Yeah,
uh,
that's right.
is it worth the money that I'm spending in it? I feel like there's a lot of people that sells VHS and some of these mite resistant queens that don't really understand what they're selling. I mean, I think you have to really go to a breeder to get that genetics. I have several people that has bought VHS queens that someone's breeding and they're just selling it for the money is what I'm saying. So just be careful out there.
Yeah,
Um, I'm a
yeah,
little skeptical, but we'll see what happens. And I like being proved wrong. And let me tell you, I have been wrong so many times from when I started beekeeping to where
yeah,
I am now. I
yeah,
mean, made so many mistakes. Um, and I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you straight out, I I did some dumb things that I thought was right. That was totally
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. So I think that's to be good to try out the VSH queens. And and if I do get those genetics, and then I can let everybody know how it is and try it out. I'm probably if I do get one VSH queen from Mark over there, I'll get one, and then if I do like that genetic, and I want to test and make sure and then I can let everybody know what's working for me, because that's one thing that I think it's hard to put any input on something that you don't know and you have not it's that you're not running, right?
Right,
Like
exactly.
I'm not running ankle biter, so I don't know nothing about them. I'm not running any VSH queen, so I don't know nothing about them. But
Right.
therefore,
And when
once
people ask me all the time, like, do you do screen bottom boards? Well, I don't
you
use screen bottom boards, so it's hard for me to give you good
anything to go with
information on that, right? Until I use it, it's hard for me. I have a feeling the way I feel, but it's not absolute. And I think that's where a lot of beekeepers fail. And I did when I was beginning because they'd be like, no, this is the way it's got to be. Until you try it, then make that statement.
Yeah, I think same thing because whenever I'm doing a video giving information, I want to make sure that I'm running that piece of equipment that I know what I'm talking about because I think that's one of the most important things. So like I did a video on like string bottom boards and solid bottom boards because I used those before, so therefore I kind of know my experience with them
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
and when we're talking about string bottom boards and solid bottom boards, for me, I don't really see much of a difference. I think the only really difference in total is that the string bottom boards, mites can fall off of the string if mites go onto your bottom board. With a solid bottom board, they will just be able to go climb back up on the bees. But with a screen bottom board, they can fall through the screen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just all depends,
I
really.
think with the horizontal hives with a screen bottom board, I used to be like, nah, I wouldn't do that. And but now I'm seeing there's a lot of moisture building up in these horizontal hives. For that screen bottom board helps with a lot of that ventilation,
That too,
and
most
that helps out quite a bit. And it surprised me. And I was a big no screen bottom boards person, and I'm really starting to change that just a little bit.
yeah. Especially because that's one thing that it's good to be able to. Let's see. I get my VSH queens through honeybees, Northern California. Pick them up through Peerco Bees, Riverside, CA. But I think you can order them from Rosa VSH Queens through Man Lake. Cool.
And that's a really good breeder to get them from. It's not one of those sidelighted breeders. A lot of that stuff comes from California out there, and it's coming from out of Canada. That's like a sub team to the VHS coming out of California. So that's a very good place to get your queen. She's right on target with that. So
Yeah,
I mean, if I was going to get some, that's where I'd get them from.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
Corey
you have
Stevens, of course, he's got VHS stuff. So I mean, he's been out there for a long time, so he's got a lot of good data on his queens and stuff also.
Yeah, that too. There's so many breeders that are selling these. So if I do get a VSH queen from Mark, I'll let everybody know on. Not really like saying this is what a VSH queen. It does what it does. I'll save that at the end whenever I do my final results.
Yeah,
And
I'd say Mark's got his from some other breeder, and he's going to help you out. So that's great. I mean, it's good to have beekeepers willing to help other beekeepers out, and for him to
exactly,
do that, that's amazing. I mean, uh, you, it's like you, Grace. I know you, but beekeeping brings us together, right?
yeah, that's right.
And it makes us a unit, and we
Yeah,
can help each other out. And that's what bees do. They help each other out in a hive.
right.
And I think that's so great. And that's why I
Me,
like YouTube. I like, the Hive Life Conference, all those people getting
yeah,
together, being part of something. It just makes it remarkable. So
that's
Mark's a great guy for doing that for you.
yeah. Because especially because like especially one thing is that it's good to work together, right? Like help out each other, give help each other. I think that's one of the best things about this YouTube community is that you can talk to people, help other people out through YouTube. But then whenever you get Hive Life coming up, you can go to Hive Life and meet people face to face, put a face to their name. So I think that's one of the best things I really do like about this YouTube and beekeeping.
Yeah, I mean, looks like DC's on here, and DC's on about all the live chats and stuff, and you know, I begged him to come down to Hive Life because I just wanted to meet him. I
Yeah,
watched some of his YouTube videos. He's been great for my channel and helped me out, and and then there's several others on here that watches my channel, and just great people, great community. And I really wanted to see people at Hive Life because I can get a name and a picture,
yeah,
or a face and a picture, and I know who you are, and we're even more combined. We're more of a team. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
That's
So
right. That's what I really liked. I like to put a face to a name. Like there's a lot of you. I think I met most of all these people down here. A few of them that didn't go. I wasn't able to meet. But maybe next year, like
right,
DC, Ed, Mark
right.
Miller. But maybe next year maybe more people will come because now I've been hearing that Hive Off is all over news and stuff. I don't know what this year's going to be like. I don't know if they're going to have 4,000 in each year double. Because last year I wasn't there. 2022. I haven't even heard about this Havloff until right whenever they start whenever they were right about to end sales. That's when I heard about it, and we made the decision late that we are going to go to Havloff. We had to book everything, a
Hmm.
little bit late, but we were able to make it, which I was very glad. It was very fun to go there and attend and be a part of it. We
So I
weren't.
seen I seen your parents there with you. So how much do they play a part in your beekeeping? Do they help you out with your beekeeping? Or are they just supporters? I mean, I seen them there with you, and they really seemed like they were supporting you very well at the
Yeah,
Hive Life Conference. And that's important to have a parent that's willing to help a kid out and give them the resources they need. So kudos goes out to your mom and dad for
yeah.
helping you out. But how much do they help you out in your beekeeping?
Oh, a lot. I'm usually the only beekeeper, but they do support in what like equipment, feeding. Because this year I went for I don't know not much sugar, but they still did help me out with the sugar but they do help me a lot with the beekeeping, which is really good to be able to have them and be able to that. But that's where they usually help me out. But I'm usually the only beekeeper out in the bee art. But whenever we did first start, our mom found something on Facebook, so she was basically the one basically the one that that got us into beekeeping, and I kind of took it over, and that's when it was. So yeah. Mark says, Grayson, my queens are from Alabama. Queens from Corey Stevens and crossed with my selected carnies. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
see there, that's great.
It's in Alabama.
That he's doing that and helping you out with some queens from Corey Stevens. I mean, that's awesome. That's a good break, a good line. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's awesome, Mark. I tell you what, Mark, I appreciate you doing that and helping Grayson out. He's a good kid. I can already tell. So
yeah. We'll have to get in touch with Mark. I see he's in my live chats and all a lot of times, and I appreciate him. I appreciate everybody who watches my videos and
yeah,
who's able to go on these live chats and listen for an hour or two. It's real nice to be able to speak and talk to people like you, Ricky. I try to have guests on next week. I'm probably not gonna have any guests. It's probably just gonna be me solo because that's how I kind of run things for the time being. Maybe one day I'll be able to get with somebody to do it together, but for the time being, I'm doing it solo. Um,
Right.
but I think that's good to go solo. I try to do these every Monday night, but next week I think I'm gonna be trying to do it by myself and answer questions, and I think it's gonna be fun next week. So anybody who's here, share that out for next week. That's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
But I guess we better end this thing off. We've hit an hour and 20 minutes. I appreciate it, Ricky. I really did enjoy talking to you for an hour.
Absolutely, Grayson. Appreciate you and appreciate all your guests that are out there.
Yeah,
Appreciate you coming to listen to me talk a little bit with Grayson here. And these kids are the kind of kids we need to
yeah,
support. We appreciate you, Grayson.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you everybody for watching and the replay. If you're watching this on replay, I appreciate you too. We'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you, Ricky. Good night, everybody.
Good
Take care.
night.